Hi everyone. Welcome to this Friday's You Asked, I'm Answering. I love all your questions, and I always look forward to reading your comments every morning when I wake up with my first cup of coffee. And one of these days I'll get caught up responding to all of you. But I enjoy them all, and please feel free to always ask me anything you're curious about. Now, the first one, I think I've addressed it before, but I'll just briefly touch upon it again. And that was, how do I self-publish all my books? And it's different for all of us, because you might do things differently than I do. But I'll just share again what works for me. And that is that I don't use editors. I tried one once, and it was very expensive and a waste of money. Although I will say that I'm sure there are very, very good editors out there, and you may benefit from one, but they are very costly, and you do have to pretty much pay them up front, although sometimes they'll give you a free sample. But I chose not to go that route because I didn't want anyone changing my words, my thoughts. But I do use Pro Writing Aid, which is a grammar tool online, because I'm really bad with grammar, and I needed that to help me polish my manuscript before I published it. And I do always publish with KDP. It's free. It's easy to use. I use my first three books. I used Reedsy um, formatting software. You can write your book. You can edit it. You can send it to KDP. And if you find you've made mistakes or spelling errors, you can fix it in Reedsy Editor and just upload a new updated manuscript. But I decided to use another writing platform, which is called Atticus. And I like it better because it's going to format my book, 100 Life Lessons from an Old Lady. I like the way it arranges my drawings, and it's much more appealing, I think. And that was, I believe, $100 thereabouts for a yearly subscription. Or no, I'm sorry, it's a one-time subscription. And you can also get a preview for how your book looks before you even upload it to KDP. So I do all of my books for free. I don't pay for anything. I did pay someone $100 for the cover design. I believe it's 100 covers for I See the Elephant. But I'm not sure that I was really 100% happy with it. So I'm going to create my own covers, and I'm going to keep them very, very simple, as I did with my other two books. I do want to mention that there are publishers out there, and they're called vanity publishers. And what I mean by vanity publisher is never pay someone to publish your book. And they prey on new writers who are maybe working for the first time on a book, and they will make you all kinds of promises, and they will do nothing to help you market your book or sell your book when they're done. They're also very, very expensive. So I'll warn you against those. Never pay anyone, except, of course, if you're paying for an editor. Um, Maybe you have a mentor or someone to help you write it. And that might work for you, but I don't pay anybody. All my books are published for free, and I'm going to continue doing this moving forward. Now, this was an interesting question, and it made me think back to when I used to work in many different offices, and I held many different positions, but it was always the same. And it has to do with dealing with coworkers who gossip and say nasty things about you behind your back. And this person is asking me for my opinion. Well, I'll tell you what I did. I ignored them. And I actually thought it was kind of funny, because if anybody wants to bother uh, wasting their time talking about me, uh, who really know nothing about my personal life and need to band together to form their own little cliques and gossip, which happened to me in school too. Not so much, but in the workplace, um, women in particular can be really, really conniving and nasty. And please know that that's not a bad reflection on you, but consider it a compliment because whatever they see in you, they're lacking. And if they need to create rumors, spread gossip, or say nasty things behind your back, please know that it is because you're strong. And what I did, uh, and I tend to be, well, very independent, and it really was apparent in my workplace because, especially where I worked for 5 years in my last position, um, I worked in marketing and I handled many, many different client accounts. So in a way, I was working on my own anyway in that regards. So I working by myself was really my strength because I was able to focus on my accounts without really needing to interact with many other coworkers. But what happened was in this environment, there was a huge um, push to be socially active with everyone on the weekends. And I did not do that because I saw my job as just a job. It wasn't my life. I had a life outside of work. I had a husband, I had a daughter, and I had personal interests. So spending 40, 50 hours a week in the office was enough for me. And I think a lot of my coworkers uh, saw that as a threat because I didn't uh, put myself out there in terms of sharing my personal life. I didn't think it applied. I didn't care about theirs, and I didn't understand why they would care about mine. But you'll always have this dynamic in an office setting. You'll always have the gossiper. You'll always have the independent soul like me who keeps to themselves, who could care less. And these are the people who will get talked about. And I think looking back now, I think it's funny. And it's also, in a way, kind of sad because you'll find these people everywhere in life. And the people who are most secure in themselves will probably be the ones who are talked about the most. So I just want to say that if it ever gets to the point where this gossip is becoming extreme and it's really interfering with your job performance and your peace of mind, then it's time to move on because you don't deserve it and you should not have to deal with it. And if you can't put a stop to it or find some humor in it, then either resolve it within yourself or just find another position. Because that had happened to me many times over the years uh, with the different jobs that I had. And I look back now and I think it's kind of funny. You may not, but please know again that it's your strengths that they find triggering. It's not your weakness. Now, here's another one. And I think I've addressed this before, but this person asked, how did I buy my cabin since I did file for bankruptcy a few years before I purchased this place? And what happened was I had filed bankruptcy, and of course, my credit was terrible. And I had saved a bit of money, and I purchased a camper and my brand new truck while my credit was still good. And I took off and I traveled around the country for 2 years camping as a nomad. I had Maggie, and I adopted Sheppy in a place somewhere out in Kansas, can't remember where. And after 2 years, I just really missed New England, and I wanted a house. I wanted my own dirt, my own home, my own mailbox, my own address. And so how was I going to do that? Well, luckily, when I finally did find my cabin, the seller had offered as an option seller financing. Now, this, please don't confuse it with rent to own. It's completely different. Seller financing means there's no credit check. However, I believe most all seller financing mortgages have a 5-year balloon payment, meaning you take the risk of coming up with the full balance due in 5 years. And that's to the advantage of the seller, because if you don't have that money in 5 years, they can foreclose on you, keep all the money that you've paid to them, and take their property back. And in my case, I was very confident that I would be able to rebuild my credit and refinance before that 5-year term. And that's exactly what I did. And it worked out perfect. In those 4 years, I managed to pay off my truck, improve my credit score, have no debt, and find a local bank to finance me. And so with anything, there's a risk. And in my case, the mortgage balance was very minimal compared to what mortgages can be these days. And I was already receiving Social Security and a pension. So I had a pretty solid income, even though it wasn't that much. My debt to income ratio was excellent because I had paid off my truck. So it's kind of a personal thing. But if you have filed bankruptcy, you can certainly buy property, seller financing. The process is the same with the title search. Everything is the same without the credit check. So that might be an option for many of you. And even if you don't find that perfect property, you can find a property maybe with seller financing that's a starting point. And after you settle in and make some payments for a few years and build your credit, you'll get back on your feet and you can sell it and then buy something that you really want. So bankruptcy is not so catastrophic. For me, it was a necessary thing to do, but it helped me to completely wipe the slate clean and start over. And that's what I did. And now I'm in a great position with my new loan that I'm able to pay off. I'm giving myself 3 to 4 years. And not only am I debt free, but I will be mortgage free. And, oh, this is a good one. How do I spend my days in the winter? Well, right here by my wood stove. And do I leave my house in the winter? Of course I do. I love to go out in the snow. I'll be doing lots of videos hiking in the snow. I'll take you out with my videos in a snowstorm. The dogs love it. Maggie has a coat that she hates to wear, but it keeps her nice and warm. And I might put one on Sheppy. I'm going to keep an eye on him to see how he does. I love going out in the snow, and that's because I'm from New England anyway. I love all 4 seasons, and I absolutely love watching the snow come down when I have this fire going, baking cookies on the top of my stove, making a nice beef stew, baking bread, and yeah, I gain a few extra pounds during the winter, but hey, so what? Hot cocoa, then I put on my warm coat, my boots, and I might just walk up my driveway and back. I don't know, but I love it. I love the cold because heck, you just get warm clothes on and you're all set. Let's see, what else? Oh, this is a really good one. Would I talk about what I think about time and different dimensions? And I could talk about this much more in depth because I think I might have kind of a unique way of looking at both of these concepts. And I really want to learn more about what quantum physics has to offer, because in the little bit that I've watched on YouTube and read online, It really explains many of my supernatural experiences that I wrote about in There Is a Something. Because ever since I was a little girl, I knew that there was more in my life than what I could physically see. And it wasn't a belief, it was a knowing. And it was a knowing that I just knew uh, in my very being. It was not anything anyone taught me or explained to me. As a matter of fact, um, I couldn't find anyone to talk to about it. And I really, really felt kind of in loneliness because I always wanted to share my special experiences with someone else who understood. And when I tried to tell my parents at a very young age, they just laughed at me. And so I kept them all to myself. But if you've read my book, or if you haven't yet, I have had experiences that prove to me that thoughts connect with other people regardless of whether they're physically here or not. And I wrote about that also in The Horseshoe. I've experienced visitations from people who have passed on, and I've experienced energy in houses uh, that have brought visions like a movie in my mind, calling me back to those houses. And I wrote about that in There Is a Something. Now, I don't watch scary movies because to me, the supernatural is not scary. To me, it's very beautiful. And we don't know what we don't know. But I believe in what I don't know. And I hope that makes sense because I believe in what I feel. And it's not a scientific knowing, it's an intrinsic soul gut knowing that I am with other entities and other entities are with me through love. And I wrote about my grandma who passed away giving birth to my father. And I wrote about how I could feel an energy in the house across the street, which is where she no longer, of course, was. But I believe that since we are energy, our energy remains in locations where we had strong emotions, whether it be love, hate, anger. I believe those emotions are embedded somehow in those locations, and that those locations still can hold that energy regardless of time, and that time can exist in a different dimension. And I don't really understand how dimensions can interlace with each other, but I believe very much so in what I don't know. And I hope that makes sense because I've had things happen to me and things that I have experienced that seem to indicate that the higher dimensions are very much aware of what is going on in ours, and that those people who have passed on through love can connect to us from those higher dimensions. I don't know what they are, I don't know how it works, but yes, I very much know in my heart and soul that certain people have the ability to perceive all of this. Just like some of us are artists or musicians, we have different talents, different abilities. And perhaps that's why I'm so sensitive to all of this, and why silence is like a door for me to sense these other uh, energies. And perhaps by being caught up in such a fast paced world, we're closed off to these other higher dimensions because we're so focused on this pitiful third dimension. We're not allowing our minds to be open to the higher ones. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. And that's why people meditate, or why they seek peace in nature. Because we know somehow within ourselves that there is a higher knowing, and we are trying to reconnect to it. And the way I know that I've reconnected to it is to just listen to that little voice inside myself. And that's all I have to do, is just let the quiet settle. And you will hear it, you will feel it, and you will know when you do so. I can talk so much more about this. I don't believe in time as we know it. I don't believe that there is a past, present, and future. I believe that's our own limited version of what we see in the third dimension. And that's all the third dimension can show us. But in a fourth dimension or a higher, I believe it all melts together. And the past and the present and the future are all one and the same. But as long as we're physically in the third dimension, it limits us. But there are people, such as myself, who can feel the higher ones. And I would love to hear your comments and your experiences and what you think about that. Because I have been this way ever since I was a little girl. And that's why I see my life from a higher plane. And I see my insights as coming from that higher plane. And it's almost like stepping back or stepping up and looking down to really see the bigger picture. And please know if that doesn't make sense, because that's the way I've been all my life. And it's kind of hard to explain. So how am I going to spend the winter? I'm going to spend it finishing my book, 100 Life Lessons from an Old Lady. And I'm going to finish and start, well, I've started it, my book about being an estranged parent. But I want to give a mention to someone who has a YouTube channel that I just discovered. And one of you actually suggested it. And I hope it's okay with her that I mention her. But her name is Just Jana. And boy, did she inspire me when I watched one of her videos yesterday. Because I admire her courage to speak out with being an estranged parent. And I hope she watches this video, and I think I'll leave a comment asking her to see it. And I'm going to tell her this because I've been conflicted over writing this book about being an estranged parent, because a lot of people are very hateful in today's world and want to blame the parents. They want to find blame, and they want to use hate to lash out. And she said something in one of her videos that was all I needed to know that I need to write this book and should. And what she said was that the people who have harmed us and victimized us and find fault with us want to silence us. They don't want us to speak out because they don't want us to hold the mirror to their own behavior. And we have every right to speak out and to reveal the truth and to tell our story. And their reaction is their reaction and not our responsibility at all. And she so helped me in saying that. And if you're watching, thank you so very much, because I admire your courage. And that was the push that I needed to know that I'm on the right path to write my book. Because my book is not about blame. It's not about fault. It's not about he said, she said, you did this, I did that. It's about compassion and having a voice and feeling worthy and feeling justified in speaking our truth. And I so love that. So I hope I didn't go over 20 minutes. And thank you so much, everyone. Please keep the questions coming. And I'm going to keep this fire going and stay nice and warm today. Take care, everyone. And enjoy your afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world. Take care.